Hi, Mike. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Hi, hi, Natalie.
Again, I'm Natalie. You know that you just said hi, Natalie. But yeah, it's wonderful to be chatting with you today. Before we jump into the interview, can you just maybe introduce yourself to like the people who are watching who don't know you and your role and the company for?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, my name is Mike Cadden. I'm currently Chief Technology Officer for Marie Curie. So I look after all of the technology and the transformation across the organization, across the charity, which is a huge and very exciting role, but only a very small part of what we do as an organization.
I'm sure. Can you maybe share a little bit more about your journey into becoming the Chief Technology Officer at Marie Curie?
It's been probably not what we'd consider a traditional journey for a charity or not-for-profit CTO. My background is very much retail, and and actually interim retail as well. So I spent many years working for many very familiar retail brands. My last role was a interim technology and transformation at Start Right Shoes, sort of supporting a great bunch of people in sort of transforming that fantastic organization. And then when that came to an end, I really hadn't considered healthcare or charity work as my next step. I was focused really, and many conversations with people, but I was focused on what I could do next in retail, because that was what I knew, that was what I was good at, that's what I was building a reputation in. I was now on various speaking things and various industry awards panels and things. So the natural next step would have been to remain in retail. But then a great contact at Michael Page sort of got in touch with this opportunity, and initially I was skeptical. I was like, what does a retail person, what can I bring to a healthcare charity? But when I then started going through the process and talking to our trustees and talking to our various members of our board, it became obvious to me that not only was this a once in a lifetime opportunity, I mean a true proper once in a career opportunity to do something really powerful and really meaningful, it was a great bunch of people with a great mission, and also Marie Curie, we needed a little bit more. Commercial's a tough thing to say in the charity, the not-for-profit space. So we're not a commercial organization, but we need a bit more of that commercial discipline and that change and transformation discipline that someone like myself can bring. So when we then got into the mission and I got talking with Matthew Reed, the chief exec, it was obvious that I could bring something a bit different here, and B, Marie Curie could bring something a bit different to me. A completely different challenge, and for me, that's always been the things I go after in my career. I've never been money orientated. I've never gone for the big titles or the glory. It's always been, can I really make a difference here? And it was obvious that absolutely this is a place that myself and the teams that I'm working with can make a huge difference.
That must feel really fulfilling. Yeah, I'm excited to sort of jump in a little bit more detail. Can you maybe expand a little bit more on the unique sort of challenges and opportunities that you've found in or encountered at Marie Curie, compared to roles at other more commercial companies?
Yeah, Marie Curie's much bigger. We're only. Our income is 165 million. So from the point of view of that, we're an SME, and that comes with its own challenges. I mean, that's a space I'm very familiar with. That's a space I operate in a lot. That in retail, that whole 100 million to 1 billion, that's my space. But that's fine. But then as an organization, we're an organization of 4,000 people. We're a huge organization in terms of our reach and our scale, and we function in a whole heap of spaces that I've got to support, and there's a whole new learning process for me. So that came through. but also the architecture, the integration, the scale of the support we have to provide, layered with the mission and the impact we have to we do provide, brings a whole new challenge and a whole new focus that is absolutely needed. So, you know, a brilliant opportunity and brilliant challenge and brilliant scale. And it's that, not just the scale. So in retail, you know, you've maybe got a couple of more narrow areas to focus on, but you've got a huge scale there. I've got a wide range of areas to focus on, and the scale that comes with that. So the ability to context switch, to bounce from and move from one decision-making area to another that are completely, you know, separate, has been a huge challenge, but one that I've thoroughly enjoyed.
So, okay, so how does, obviously your role is Chief Technology Officer, right? So how does technology play a role in sort of advancing, you know, Marie Curie's missions, and what exactly is that mission, if you could sort of like boil that down to a sentence?
Yeah. So I'll start with the second part of that question, if that's okay. Our mission is to, you know, if we boil it down to one sentence, to close the gap at the end of life care. So our mission is to look after anyone who is, you know, going through that horrible process, who have been, you know, in the last year of life, who have got an incurable disease, and you know, and them and their family. Our mission is to support them through that process. So whether that's with our companion teams, our volunteering teams who just go and sit with people and support them and help them. I mean, that's not all they do, but you know, it's a large part of what they do. Whether it's our healthcare you know, professionals, whether it's our doctors and nurses in the hospices. So regardless of where people need care, Marie Curie's mission is to help support them, you know, at that time. Now, you know, there's a large number of people out there who are not getting the care they need. You know, we can't reach everybody. The NHS is cash strapped. So together with Hospice UK, with the wider umbrella group, our mission is to try and support as many people as we can and provide them with the end of life care and with the end of life experience that they deserve, and that many people need. So that's our mission in a nutshell. You know, how technology can support that, and this was, you know, part of my initial you know, concern. You know, is technology, you know, this is a people-led organization. You know, the care we provide is, you know, brilliant people providing, you know, direct care and, you know, to individuals going through the most horrible of experiences. But once I was in here, it's obvious that everything we do is underpinned by our technology. So our caring assistants, our volunteers, our people who are out there, we provide them with the tools to keep them safe. We provide them with the information to keep, you know, for our patients. So they go out there with, you know, with a lot of technology effectively in their pocket that gives them the data and the patient records they need. We're using data in huge ways to transform our fundraising and to drive our fundraising. You know, it's everything that happens in Marie Curie is underpinned by our technology, and that's really exciting. And that's, how do we make that better every day of the week? That's what drives us.
Have there been any sort of specific projects that you've led or supported that have been the most fulfilling and transformative?
We're working on a number of very long-term projects at the moment. So, but in the last year, there've been a couple. So, you know, we're just literally next week. So on the 29th, we're just about to launch our new website. You know, it's been well overdue to get that in place, and that our website's critical as part of our mission. It provides so much information for our, you know, for our patients, for their carers, for anyone who is looking for support and help from Marie Curie. So that's been a huge 2-year project that the team have worked, you know, tirelessly on, and you know, that goes live. Similarly, at the same time, last year, tail end of last year, we completed an immense project that's sort of across the entire organization, where we've massively upgraded our capability to keep our people safe. So, you know, we have a lot of people who go out there on their own to provide care, to provide support 24 hours a day. You know, it is critical to us that we keep those people safe. So, tail end of last year, we finished what we call the Lone Worker Project, which is a range of technology that sort of just provides a little comfort to our people, provides that support to our people to make sure that they can do their jobs, in difficult circumstances, they can do it safely. So those two are probably two of the first ones that are coming through, but we've got a huge program over the next couple of years where we're looking at AI, we're looking at our data capabilities. I mean, our data team won several awards last year on our single customer view, single view of the customer, where we're going to use data to overall everything we do, including the fundraising space. We're just bringing all that together to provide us a better foundational data platform that we can use to drive the charity forward.
That makes a lot of sense. I love that you guys are also ensuring that your, lone workers are safe. What is the exact technology that you've sort of like implemented in their, pocket that helps them feel safe?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Look, our people are critical to us. Our people are everything we do. Without those sort of, I mean, they're amazing. Without those people who go out day to day and do the mission, we'd be nothing. We'd be sat in the back, doing absolutely nothing. So we have a duty to them to keep them safe, and the team that do that they're absolutely focused on it. So from a technology point of view, we've provided them a number of technologies. I mean, we've got a number of back-end systems that make sure that we know they're going to the right place and what they're doing. But in their pocket, effectively, we provided them with a fob that they can attach to their phone, or they can attach to their lanyard, and it's effective. It's called my SOS device. In the event that they feel uncomfortable or they feel that their safety is at risk, they can press this button. It attaches them to go straight to a monitoring center, and then they can be looked after. The monitoring center gets in touch, and whatever happens. But at the same time, we're very aware that they may be in a position where they can't get to that, for whatever reason. So as well as that, we've got a powerful app on their mobile phones that we provide that sort of looks after them, gives us breadcrumbs to where they are, makes sure that we know they are where they're supposed to be, and they're leaving where they're supposed to be, and they're getting to where they're supposed to be next in a safe way. And therefore, if they're outside those parameters and outside those windows, we have a mechanism to get in touch as well and go, are you okay? Are you safe? And if they're not, we can sort of send somebody who can go and check on them.
That's wonderful. I'm going to pivot a little bit. I want to understand a little bit more about how your FMCG and sort of retail background skills have or have sort of been of benefit or help to you within the nonprofit sector. Have there been any specific skills that you've stolen from there and implemented here that are a little bit new for the company?
I think I wouldn't say new. Our mission is always focused. I mean, I talk about focusing on the customer, which in this organization is maybe not quite the right language, but it brings that focus. I mean, that's the world I come from, and in retail, as you'll know, the only retailers that succeed now are the ones that laser focus on the customer and the customer experience. So for me, that's a focus that I brought in. I'm not saying that it didn't, Marie Curie didn't have that before, but it's an additional discipline, additional focus that I brought from that world that has allowed us to really, when we're looking at the work we do, is what we're doing delivering the benefits to whoever that customer might be, whether it's our patient, their carer, whether it's the internal customers, whether it's our donors, whether it's the people on the street who donate in through our boxes, etc. I've never been in an organization where defining the customer is quite so difficult, because we have so many who are critical for us. So that's the one thing I brought from retail. The other is and there's always been everyone has been very aware in the organization of how critical it is that we use every penny that we get donated to. One of the things that I bring from the retail background is that awareness in a slightly different way. So in retail, it's very clear. When I worked for various wine companies, it's very clear. How many bottles of wine will this project allow me to sell more of? And so it's a very easy way of breaking down the business case. It was something that my CFO at one company many years ago taught me, and I remain true to that even today. And whilst it's slightly more difficult to phrase it that way, it's easy to explain it and say, right, how much money will this save us, or how will this benefit us, this project? And that commercial discipline has been critical in sort of driving that focus over the last sort of 2 years.
Again, a little bit of streamlining, or I'm going to fast forward a little bit to the technology aspect of things again, because obviously there's so many advancements in AI, data analytics, healthcare technologies that are just like continuously happening on a day-to-day basis, which is very exciting. And I'm just curious about which one of those emerging trends is most exciting for you, and which ones you see have the most potential to sort of like reshape the non-profit healthcare space.
I mean, I feel like I'm just jumping on the bandwagon, although we've been looking at it, and actually I've been looking at it for many years. But AI is, without a doubt, transformational. Now, I'm not one of the, I've been doing technology now for 30 odd years. I don't get overly excited because I've seen technologies come and go. I've seen some that were supposed to be transformational, never quite did, and others that have been properly transformational, and especially in retail, it's a space where you get the next big hype thing, and it's going to absolutely transform everything we do, and it never really comes to anything. I think the metaverse is obviously a great example of that. It just died a death and never went anywhere. I'm sure there are people that will hate me for saying that, but that's it's just how I see it. But AI, I think, is going to be insanely transformational to healthcare in general, but to every business out there. The one thing I'd say is, if you are not, as a CTO or a CIO, if you are not investigating AI, and not just the Gen AI, the generative AI that people were using last year, but for me, I was using it at StartRight a little bit. We've used it a fair bit last year. For me, 2025 is going to be the year of the agentic AI. It's going to be the year where we properly utilize this technology to streamline, a lot of the administration that we do. Administering a charity like Marie Curie is essential. There's a lot that's got to happen. These things have got to go through. We've got a lot of governance. We've got a lot of care quality that we've got to look after. So to run something like this, there is a lot that goes on in the background. My job is to make that as streamlined and as simple as possible. So when our nurses go out there, when our healthcare professionals go out there, technology is invisible to them. My mission is to make technology as almost non-existent, so they don't think about it, they don't see it, and they're totally focused on the patient. Now, we're not there yet. We've got a long way to go. But AI will change every aspect of everything we do. I mean, we're seeing it already in the wider healthcare space. We're seeing, AI being used to, diagnose patients. Everyone's seen the news stories coming out about where AI is diagnosing. I think there's a case study down in the Southwest about AI diagnosing breast cancer faster than doctors can do. I mean, it's just a tool. It will never replace brilliant doctors and brilliant nurses and brilliant healthcare professionals, but it's a tool that will speed up their job and speed up their processes so much. So that's a space that we are absolutely focusing in on this year to drive and to make the best use of, and to marry that technology, because it is just a tool, it is just a technology, marry that technology with the brilliance of our people so that they can focus on our patients.
Yeah, and in particular in the healthcare system, I think speeding up processes is so important, because time is, everything in healthcare. Do you feel like, obviously, working for a nonprofit sector, there is very obvious sort of like financial constraints. So how do you sort of approach balancing, innovation, technology innovation, the things that you want to do with those budgetary responsibilities or constraints?
mean, when I came in a year and a half ago, one of the first things that we did and that I brought to the exec was bringing in a new set of rules about what we work on. We've got a strategic mission, we've got a strategic vision, so it was very simple. It's like, this is something we do a lot in retail. It was very clear. So if we're going to work on something, let's put some rules around it. Let's put some guidelines. So, is what you're working on, is it aligned to our strategic vision? Is it one of our strategic goals? Is it aligned to our strategic KPIs? In which case, crack on. Is it going to bring significant, if it's not aligned to that, but is it going to bring significant financial benefits? Is it going to reduce our cost base, or is it going to allow us to bring in more money into the charity? And we didn't put limits around that. We didn't put draw lines around it. There's a lot of open to discussion there. But again, if you can make a solid business case for it, then also crack on. And then we've obviously got compliance and controls. We're Cyber Essentials certified. We've got to keep the charity safe. So we brought these rules in, and very quickly got them signed off. And that allows us a mechanism to value and to prioritize the work that we're doing. And in doing that, it allows my people to go, right, we can do this, we can do that. We've got this innovative idea, we can put this business case against it. And by just bringing that focus, it allowed people to go after the things that bring the biggest benefits to the charity, whether that's our strategic goals, whether that's delivering great patient care, or just supporting us and supporting the financial elements of the charity.
Yeah, I think there's a great lesson there in just like how important prioritizing the most important things are. And then you're able to actually do everything that like you need to do, that needs to get done, that's important, without having like huge financial sort of burden just like on top of your head.
Absolutely. The number, as an interim, I'd find that quite often I'd go into organizations and the technology teams would be overwhelmed. Then there'd be a breakdown between and I'm not saying that this was the case here, but previously I'd go in and they'd be, the relationship between the business and the technology team would be broken down. The business is going, well, they're not doing what we want, and they don't deliver, and the technology, well, they keep asking for everything under the sun, and it's just going into both of them and going, look, this is a situation, you can't get everything, and we can't deliver everything. That I think every CIO out there will know that, the demand is always far, far greater than the supply. So by having guide rails around it, by having focus points and being able to say, right, these are our rules, these are what we're going to work on. If you want something outside of this, it's not going to happen. So, it's critical to have that. And by setting those rules out and by building these roadmaps, everyone in the organization is able to see, what they're going to get and how they're going to get it and within what time. And it just builds a better relationship amongst everybody.
Yeah, no, 100%. And have you implemented any sort of like sustainable or ethical practices within these operational or technological sort of projects that you initially laid out, or are you doing that on an ongoing basis? How have you sort of implemented those two very important things across the industry, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, sustainability is obviously critical. It's built into everything we do. I mean, everything we go after, we're looking at, does it conform to our internal policies? I mean, sustainability, DEI, they're absolutely ingrained. They're in our DNA. They're part of what we do. When I first spoke to Matthew Reid, our chief exec, before I joined here, one of the things that we talked about was the mission, and how DEI, how it is ingrained in our organization. I talked about closing the gap. That's our strategic goal, closing the gap at end of life care. But that's more than just the numbers. It's about supporting people in impoverished communities or underprivileged communities, going into those areas that maybe more traditional hospice organizations simply can't provide care for and provide support for. If you're trying to provide bedside care for someone who lives in a huge tower block and getting in and out is really difficult, well, you need very specialist people. You need a different organization. So Marie Curie's mission is based around providing healthcare to everybody, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of where their background, and therefore things like DEI, they're built into who we are as an organization. They're built into our DNA. And that was a big part of me joining as well, that sense that this isn't It isn't something we have to build in. It isn't something we have to think about consciously. It's just there as part of everything we do. You know, and particularly in the world today, I think with these values being under threat, being part of an organization where they're so inherent in everything we do, just it's a great sense for how we go after how I get up in the morning knowing we're making a difference to everybody.
I think that's, yeah, really, really beautiful. I wonder how you cultivate sort of this culture of innovation, technological innovation, and adaptability within a team that's of all different backgrounds, ethnicities, ages, especially in sort of like a mission-driven organization like Marie Curie. Just because I'm just thinking, like, as a CTO, you must come across a lot of challenges with people who just are very opposed to adding anything that's innovative into a team that's already such within a long-standing organization, again, of different backgrounds, who might be a little bit scared or frightened of new innovations and technologies. Yeah. So how do you sort of approach that? How do you cultivate that in the team?
I mean, it is a challenge. When we're not a technology-led organization. You know, we're a people-led organization, and invariably, and not just Marie Curie, but everywhere, people are nervous of change. But innovation is critical to what we do. We're not going to be providing the best for our patients if we are not constantly innovating. And within the healthcare world, they are, my colleagues in that space are driving innovation hard with everything they do. They're constantly looking at new ways that they can provide healthcare to our patients. They're constantly, we're constantly looking, how can we reach more people? Not enough people get the healthcare they need at the end of life. So we're at our core, our healthcare assistants, our healthcare professionals are always thinking of new ways that we can do that. I mean, we're looking at, we're looking not just within the hospice, we're really expanding out into providing the hospice level care, but providing it at home. So going into people, being with them in their homes. We call it hospice care at home or enhanced care at home. So innovation in that space has always been part of what we do. We've just maybe been a bit slower within technology because we've been a bit more risk averse about doing some of this stuff. We've actually got a great risk team at Marie Curie who are driving us to have an appropriate risk appetite, and they're amazing. And so it's just giving the teams the confidence that there is room for them to think differently. There is room to think outside it. We have a very diverse team. I'm very proud of my leadership team. It is diverse. Certainly. That I've got a really wide range of people in it, and I'm very, very proud of that. And they all come with very different views. I'm absolutely adamant. I don't want yes people in my team. I want people who can challenge every step of the way. And for me, it's about giving them that room to challenge, giving that confidence that they can do it and they can bring forward ideas. Our next step is now taking that from the leadership teams that I've got into the rest of the organization, to the rest of my team, so that everyone can bring forward. Now, part of the challenge there as well is not every good idea can be utilized. So it's making sure people understand that they may bring forward a brilliant idea, but it will go into the backlog and it will get done at some point, or it's a great idea, but not appropriate for us at the moment. And having that confidence to just go, yep, no, I get that. Just keep bringing the ideas, because the more we've got, the more we can innovate, the more we can do. We're certainly, as an organization, moving harder into being agile across the organization. We're moving away from being project-based. So, we are delivering some big projects at the moment, but once those projects come into live, we're moving to product-based models where my teams are very tightly integrated with the various business teams, with the healthcare teams, the care and services teams, with the fundraising teams, so that they are bringing forward innovation in their space. We are supporting them to deliver that innovation on a continuous improvement basis. So as an organization, we are transforming internally to this product-based model, and it's a real fundamental shift for us.
That's really exciting, and to be the sort of like leader in that must be really exciting as well. I'm going to go to a couple of like last more personal questions. I guess for yourself, what has been the most rewarding part of this journey, and how has it sort of shaped your perspective as a leader?
Yeah, I think coming into, so I started at Marie Curie as a fixed term contract. It was a 12-month contract that I was told by everyone I interviewed, there's a few of us on the exec that started that way, and they all stayed, and everyone that told me is like, you come in like that, but you never go, you never properly leave. So in March last year, I transitioned into a permanent role, and doing that changes, coming here changed my approach a little bit. As an interim, you go in, you have a very clear function to do, you have a problem to fix. Here there's no shortage of problems to fix, but we also had a really good foundation, a really good setup. So, just being able to take that little bit, being able to settle in a little bit more. I mean, for me personally, working with the executive team at Marie Curie are just brilliant. But as people and as professionals, I've never worked with such an amazing bunch of individuals. Every single one of them is off the scale brilliant. And we have, it's such a serious mission. It's such an important mission, and yet the camaraderie, the fun that we're able to bring, not just at exec level, but across the organization is overwhelming. So, I'm working with people who, their careers, some of our trustees are the biggest and brightest and the best across the UK. So, everybody we work with, it's humbling. And when I talk to our, the guys on the ground on the front line, it brings home what little you achieve in technology when you see what they do. So for me as a person and for me as a leader, it's been really humbling to be part of that. The hardest part for me actually is avoiding crying on a weekly basis, because you hear the stories and you get the we talk to the people and you get the stories back and you're just like, and actually as a leader, because we're used to being put up a front, you're used to, as a leader, having to be whatever it is, to be able to bring my authentic self to an organization, to not have to hide behind the front that certainly interim leaders sometimes have to put up, to not have to hide behind that has been really liberating. I've been able to present the real Mike Cadden in ways that probably wouldn't be able to in many other organizations. So that's been amazing, and then being able to support my whole organization. I lead a fantastic team of 108 individuals across, who are providing immense service across the organization. And I look at what they do on a day-to-day basis, and just to be part of that team, and watch what they achieve and the amount of work they get through, just it makes I get up every morning just feeling brilliant about the work that we do.
That doesn't surprise me at all, that the team that you're working with are such incredible humans that are such a joy to work with, because I think that anybody who, dedicates their life to working for a company like Marie Curie, of course, is going to be a very authentic, caring, empathetic person. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. It must be. And I think working with a team that you enjoy working with, that you really respect, is everything. If you don't enjoy working with your team, then you might as well quit your job, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
You have the privilege to do that. Yeah. So to sort of round off this conversation, Mike, I just wanted to ask you if you could maybe give a little bit of a glimpse into the speaking session that you will be doing at FUTR Europe 2025 on April 24th, which we're very excited to be a part of.
I'm so looking forward to it. I've been doing, as I say, I've been in retail, but in technology 30 years. So the ability to give just a little bit of what little I've learned over that time is going to be superb. So, the talk I'm going to be giving is going to be titled "Driving Customer Lifetime Value by Building Strong Communities." So, again, it's sort of going back to my retail space, which I know best. One of the things I learned, and one of the big fundamental shifts we've seen in retail, and many organizations got it, but we saw it come through really strong during COVID. But a lot of the most successful retailers, you look at Apple particularly, their success is driven not by chasing down individual customers or offering transactional, there's a huge place for transactional loyalty. Retail's built on transactional loyalty to some extent. But actually, the true success, and we look at the work that one of our Marie Curie's partners, Morrison's, is doing in this space as well. True success is coming now from building a community of not just customers, but supporters, fans. If you want to go down that route, people who are not there just simply because of a single product. People who buy into your mission. If we even talk about the Marie Curie thing, I mean, our volunteers are part of our very, very strong community. So from a retail point of view, if you can build a community of people who are your advocates, who are your supporters, then you move from just trying to drive, if I go back to my Budgeons days, driving basket value, you're driving lifetime customer value, which is far more important and far more powerful. You achieve that, right? And it's very difficult to do, because you can spend hours building that, spend years building that community. One misstep can throw you all out and lose you it. So that's where I'm focusing my talk in April. How do you build that lifetime customer value through building strong and powerful communities?
I'm excited to if I get the opportunity to, I'm excited to listen in and to learn how that sort of translates to a company, a nonprofit company like Marie Curie, where your customers are very different from the retail customers, and how that sort of translates. But I won't ask you about that, because I think anyone who's watching this should just come and watch the actual speaking session, and you will understand and learn how.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Mike.
No worries, Natalie. Thank you for the wonderful questions, and I look forward to seeing you in April.
Me too.